Welcome to Underworld UK, where Britain's darkest stories are brought to light. From the gritty streets of gangland London, Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, from Curtis Warren to the Cray twins to county lines and modern-day true crime, we cover everything. Bringing you new videos every week. Subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next video is put out.
For more than a decade, James Mulvey lived in plain sight, and yet almost nowhere at all. He had no registered home address, no UK bank accounts, and no obvious assets tied to his name, and still millions flowed through his world. From the West Midlands to the Costa del Sol, from Holland to Ireland, from Birmingham warehouses to the heart of Europe's criminal underworld. Law enforcement would later describe him with a single word: a ghost. This is the story of James Mulvey, a Birmingham-based crime boss, international drug trafficker and a key figure linked to the Kinahan organised crime network. A man who built a drugs empire worth close to £100 million, using haulage firms, offshore trusts and silence, before a single mistake triggered an international manhunt that ended with armed police dragging him half naked from an apartment in Lithuania. James Mulvey was born and raised in Solihull, on the edge of Birmingham. On the surface, his early life offered few clues about the scale of criminality that would later define him. He was not a street-level dealer, nor a visible enforcer known to police patrols. Instead, Mulvey would become something far more dangerous: a logistics operator. By the early 2000s, Birmingham had quietly established itself as one of the most important transport hubs in the UK's criminal economy. Major motorways radiated outward in every direction, warehousing space was abundant, and haulage firms, legitimate or otherwise, provided perfect cover for moving illicit goods alongside everyday freight. Mulvey understood this environment instinctively. Rather than operating on street corners, he embedded himself inside the systems that moved goods across borders. Trucks, depots, shipping schedules and invoices became his tools. His company, JBS Transport, appeared entirely legitimate. Paperwork was clean, routes were routine, vehicles moved in and out of the West Midlands without raising suspicion. Hidden inside industrial equipment and metal rollers, however, were drugs on an industrial scale. Between 2006 and 2007, Mulvey oversaw a sophisticated trafficking route running from the Netherlands through Belgium into England and onward to Ireland. Cocaine and cannabis were concealed inside heavy industrial metal rollers, items unlikely to be dismantled during routine inspections. In February 2007, one shipment was intercepted in Belgium. Inside, investigators discovered around 22 kilograms of cocaine and nearly 400 kilograms of cannabis. What initially appeared to be a major seizure would soon be understood as just a fraction of a much larger operation. Further inquiries revealed that this load was representative. Investigators identified at least 14 previous identical trips that had gone completely undetected. In total, Mulvey's operation is believed to have trafficked more than 5.5 tons of cannabis and around 300 kilograms of cocaine. The estimated street value approached £100 million. This wasn't opportunistic crime, it was systematic, process-driven and meticulously planned. Mulvey was not a peripheral figure. In court, he was described as the linchpin, the man who funded the operation, coordinated the routes, managed the front businesses, and ensured discipline and silence across borders. What truly set Mulvey apart was not just scale, but invisibility. According to the National Crime Agency, he went to extraordinary lengths to avoid detection. He used unregistered pay-as-you-go SIM cards, sometimes changing them weekly. He avoided owning property in his own name. He held no bank accounts in the UK whatsoever.
Money moved offshore instead, flowing through jurisdictions known for secrecy and financial complexity. The Isle of Man, Monaco, Mauritius. More than £11.5 million passed through a single offshore business alone. Despite this careful concealment, Mulvey lived extravagantly. In southern Spain, he built a state-of-the-art villa near Marbella worth over £1.4 million. The property featured indoor-outdoor swimming pools, a private cinema, a lift and panoramic views of the Costa del Sol. He stayed in five-star hotels across Europe. He drove high-end vehicles, and according to evidence heard in court, he maintained a cocaine habit costing more than £1,000 a week. Yet for years he left almost no paper trail behind. As investigators dug deeper into Mulvey's world, familiar names began to surface. Names already associated with Europe's most powerful organised crime networks. Chief among them was the Kinahan family. Originally based in Ireland, the Kinahan organised crime network had grown into a transnational operation spanning drug trafficking, money laundering, boxing promotion and a web of legitimate-looking businesses. Their influence stretched from Dublin to Spain, from the UK to the Middle East. Mulvey's name repeatedly appeared alongside known Kinahan associates. In covertly obtained recordings following the murder of his cousin Gerard Hatchet Kavanagh, Mulvey spoke candidly about his position within the criminal hierarchy. When we first started, there was 4 bosses: me, Glasses, him who's just got shot dead, and another kid. Kavanagh, an Irish national deeply embedded in Kinahan circles, was gunned down in Marbella in September 2014. He was shot 9 times by 2 assassins outside a bar as he tried to flee. The killing sent shockwaves through the Irish criminal diaspora on the Costa del Sol. Mulvey's response revealed both fear and understanding of the world he inhabited. "They kill the people you love," he said. It was not bravado, it was experience. By this point, investigators were increasingly convinced that Mulvey's Birmingham-based operation was not isolated. It was part of a wider Irish-European criminal ecosystem, providing logistics, routes and laundering mechanisms for one of the continent's most feared crime families. Financial investigators began to follow the money, and what they uncovered was a dense web of trusts, shell companies and front businesses designed to obscure ownership and responsibility. Among these entities was the Mule State Foundation Trust, which helped Irish authorities link Mulvey to Kinahan associate and career criminal Liam Byrne. Another was LS Active Car Sales in Dublin, which the Irish High Court later ruled was a money laundering operation connected to the Byrne organised crime group. The car dealership retained a fleet of high-end vehicles and operated as a slush fund, allowing members of the network to fund luxury travel, attend boxing matches and maintain a high-flying lifestyle without drawing attention. Investigators also traced links to offshore trusts in Mauritius, managed through corrupt accountants, and connections stretching across Spain, the UK, Ireland and the Netherlands. Assets seized in related cases included houses, dozens of luxury cars and gold and diamond jewellery. Despite being behind bars, Mulvey's name continued to surface. He remained a figure of interest in ongoing efforts to dismantle the Kinahan network's financial infrastructure. Ironically, the operation that finally exposed Mulvey did not begin with a high-level informant or sophisticated surveillance. It began with a warehouse worker in Belgium who noticed something unusual and decided to speak up. That single tip-off triggered a 2-year international investigation involving more than 150 investigators. The operation drew together agencies from the UK, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, Ireland, Lithuania and the Netherlands, as well as Europol and the United States Drug Administration. Phone records were analysed, financial transactions reconstructed, shipping routes mapped in forensic detail. Slowly the ghost began to take shape. By 2017, Mulvey was on the run. He moved constantly, avoiding predictable routines, staying in short-term accommodation and limiting face-to-face contact. But the net was tightening. In March of that year, Lithuanian special forces stormed an apartment. Mulvey was arrested at gunpoint, bare-chested, offering no resistance.
After years of operating invisibly across borders, the ghost had finally been caught. He was extradited to the UK and charged with 4 counts of conspiracy: conspiracy to import cocaine, conspiracy to import cannabis, conspiracy to export cocaine, and conspiracy to export cannabis. At Birmingham Crown Court, jurors heard weeks of detailed evidence. Judge Mark Wall QC described Mulvey's role as central, deliberate and sophisticated. The seized shipment in Belgium, he ruled, was merely representative of the true scale of the operation. The wholesale value of the cocaine alone was estimated at £17 million, with a retail value of £42 million. Cannabis was valued at around £60 million at street level. As sentence was passed, Mulvey smiled at family members in the public gallery. He was jailed for 32 years. The judge was direct in his assessment. Mulvey, he said, would have been acutely aware of the misery and ruined lives caused by the drugs he helped distribute. For law enforcement, the conviction did not mark the end. If anything, the investigation intensified. Forensic accountants worked through hundreds of thousands of documents, tracing money flows across jurisdictions and time zones. As one financial crime expert observed, once a forensic investigation begins, all it takes is one thread for the entire deception to unravel. At the same time, pressure on the Kinahan network increased. In 2022, Thomas Bomber Kavanagh, who ran the Kinahans UK operations, was jailed for 21 years alongside close associates. Sanctions were imposed by the United States, and key money handlers were arrested in Spain as part of coordinated international operations. James Mulvey's conviction became part of a broader effort to dismantle one of Europe's most powerful organised crime groups. He'd built an empire without flash, without headlines, and without footprints. For years it worked, but in the end, even ghosts leave traces. A warehouse worker noticed something wrong. A ledger failed to add up. A phone call was recorded. Today, James Mulvey sits behind bars, a cautionary figure in the history of British organised crime, proof that no matter how far money travels, no matter how many borders are crossed, eventually the underworld catches up with itself.